Welcome again, everyone, to SDG Action Day of the Hague Humanity Hub. My name is Somaya Dehban. I'm a PhD candidate at Rotterdam School of Management, and my supervisor is Professor Rob van Tulder, who is the SDG person in the Netherlands to go to when you want to talk about partnership. The topic of my research is embracing the complexity or wickedness of our collective Verbinding. And for the Dutch in the audience, they would recognize the term Verbinding. It's semi-translated to interconnectedness in English. And the reason I picked this term is that I'm a Dutchified Iranian myself, so I wanted to pay my homage to my new Dutch roots. And also, the data set that I'm analyzing is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Dutch CSOs who have received funding from the ministry. So it contextualizes the domain of my research. And I'm basically working on upscaling or enhancing the impact of cross-sector partnership of civil society organizations to accelerate the collective progress towards 2030 agenda. A little bit about me is that I'm fascinated by wicked problems. And those two little kids in the back are my wicked problems at home. They both are quite aware of the environmental issues about the climate change. And when we go to a park and they see garbage on the sides, they get really upset about it, that why people throw garbage in the parks or in the street instead of just recycling them. And they keep talking about this with their friends. And I'm very happy that with my partner, we are raising children who are aware of the issues and are willing to take action about it. The wicked problems are very difficult to define. They are very multi-layered, and you need to have multi-approaches in order to be able to address them. And every single goal on Sustainable Development Goals list is a wicked problem. And we can look at them as problems, or we can look at them as opportunities for doing the things we are doing in a different way. I have a dream. This is something that I've been working on for a very long time. And I have decided to dedicate my life for the next 10 years that we have to 2030 to focus on this dream. And that's living in a world with personal freedom of choice and equality of opportunity and the ability for people to thrive. And this needs to be balanced with a responsibility to contribute to the collective good. So we do have the rights, but we also have the responsibility to take action and to work on it, whether we are a young child like my own children, or us who are sitting here, or our governments, our companies, and so on. And I want to achieve this dream, and I believe it's possible. That's why I became a Nexus strategist. That means that I bring back the balance and harmony to the context in which we operate, and apply change leadership to build a coalition of unlikely allies to collectively develop a pragmatic strategy, not just an idealist one. And the reason I say coalition of unlikely allies, because we have moved too much towards only working with like-minded people. In our hiring practices, we say we are looking for a new member to our team who is like-minded us. And if we just keep talking to the people who think the same as we do, I don't think we are going to achieve sustainable development goals. And we need to talk to the people who are not thinking like us, not just in the domain of sustainable development goals, but in our politics, in our companies, in our academia. We need to expand our work and work beyond the like-mindedness, and therefore work with unlikely allies. And of course, this all needs to be in a balanced and harmonious context. That's why I say if we combine harmony and progress, we will achieve positive impact. Now, to the state of SDGs, we have seen that there are a lot of great reports about what we have achieved so far, 6 years after the beginning of SDGs. But there are also reports that are less peachy and positive on the subject. That, for instance, the United Nations Economic and Social Council report in May 2019 that it came out, that the global response that we have is not ambitious enough to guarantee the achievement of SDGs by 2030. And therefore, we need a series of cross-cutting areas. We need to take action in a very dramatic way that accelerates this progress. And this action, this dramatic action, requires political leadership, urgent and scalable multi-stakeholder approach. This level of urgency and scalability for a multi-stakeholder approach is at the very core of my research. So I developed this research question that how can we increase the effect, which we can also translate it to impact and influence of civil society organization in enhancing or in other words, upscaling the impact of cross-sector partnerships in which they take part. And how that helps us to accelerate the collective progress towards achieving sustainable development goals by 2030. It's a long research question. In actual proposal, it's broken down to 35 sub-research questions. But today I'm going to talk about with you on the beginning of it, on what do we need to understand in order to talk about scaling the impact of cross-sector partnerships. And I divided into 3 steps. That first we need to check out, we need to audit ourselves in terms of the work that the cross-sector partnerships for the civil society organizations. We need to audit ourselves. Where are we standing? In the first place, what roles are we playing as civil society organizations? Is it the role of service delivery, advocacy, or a combination of these, or any other role? Are we looking at our size? Are we a small one, a medium size, or an international one working in different domains? And we can also look into our leadership within these organizations. Is it majority female-led organizations? Are there ethnic minorities promoted on equal basis than the others? So we need to really take a stock of how it's going internally for us as civil society organizations. And when we run that audit on ourselves, reflecting on ourselves, we look into what motivates us to actually be part of a cross-sector partnership. Is it just because that's where the funding is? Or is it because we think this is the way we can accelerate our work, we can scale up our work, and get the best out of the work that we are doing? When we get that motives right, then we can look at our setup. And by setup, I mean the configuration that we put in place for our partnerships. How is the relation between the partners? Is it an equal relationship between the Dutch organizations who receive the funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the organizations at the local place when the program is being implemented? Or is there an imbalance in there? Who makes the final decision? How is this reflected into the reporting process, for instance? And when we understand that configuration and realize how that is impacting our progress and our processes, then we can come up with a roadmap. And by roadmap, I mean strategies that are actually implementable. A lot of the times, as a fundraiser, I've seen a lot of nicely written proposals, but which are not actually doable, or we cannot achieve them in the timeline that we hope to achieve them. So it's very important that this roadmap becomes something that is strategically implementable, and it takes into account all the other elements that we've learned from the previous steps on why are we into this setup and into this partnership, and how we can enhance our work.